no other profession has done what nursing has done, which is to be the first and only licensed profession to create a board certification within the field of coaching.
You want that professionalism and legitimacy and the letters after your name. So almost all of our graduates choose to go on to become board certified in nurse coaching. Welcome back, nurses, nurse coaches. Thanks for joining us for the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. Today, we're talking about the importance of board certification. Peter, you ready to have some fun?
Ready to have some fun, 100%. We're going to talk about the importance of board certification. We're going to talk about what the options are. So what are your options for board certification? And then we're going to talk about why board certification matters inside of nurse coaching. And I think this is very relevant, super important. And finally, we'll talk about how to become board certified, like how we prepare you for that and how you can obtain and achieve board certification in either nurse coaching or holistic nursing, the board certification of your choice. Super pumped to talk about this here today.
Yeah, so we got lots of ground to cover, so let's get after it. We get questions about board certification all the time. In fact, I think that is one of the top reasons why nurses hear about this field and get interested in it is because it's not just a passion or an interest or a little something extra they can throw into their practice, but it is this real, true, legitimate thing that they can go out there, get those letters after their name and get board certified to lock that in. And that feels really awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting because nurses want to do things that are legit. And the board certification in nurse coaching and in holistic nursing is so freaking legit. Like, it's been around for a long time. It's really, really well established. I think that's why many nurses gravitate toward this field and toward, the Nurse Coach Collective program, is because it offers that pathway to this very legitimate, nationally accredited board certification.
So when we talk about what is it? What is board certification in that very broad sense? It is an opportunity for nurses to study holistic nursing, to study board certification, and then to be able to have a way to establish and prove and validate their competencies professionally in those fields by sitting for these, as you said, nationally accredited, magna recognized board certifications. When you graduate as a nurse coach from our program at the Nurse Coach Collective, you actually are completing enough education, enough CEs to become eligible for 2 different board certifications. So you want to start by talking about that?
Yes. So this is a little bit more of the what. So what are the board certification options? Option number 1 is Nurse Coach Board Certified. That's NC-BC. Acronym alert coming at you. I'm about to hit you with so many letters. If you're not familiar with this stuff, it's okay. If you are familiar with this stuff, you understand that it makes sense pretty quickly. So all of these board certifications are provided by the American Holistic Nurses Credentialing Corporation, AHNCC. That's HNCC. And so under there's multiple exams that you can sit for, but with the intention being to sit for either Nurse Coach Board Certified and or Holistic Nurse Board Certified. So Heather, let's talk about the differences between those 2 board certifications and how you distinguish them in your mind between Nurse Coach Board Certified, NCBC, and Holistic Nurse Board Certified, HNBC.
I would say, as a general understanding, and of course, I highly recommend if you're really trying to understand and tease apart the differences, ahncc.org, that's going to be your place for all the nitty-gritty details.
ahncc.org.
Exactly. So the holistic nurse board certification is almost more representative of this idea of holistic nursing, taking that whole person approach to care in a more general sense. And there can also be quite a few modalities, as you can imagine, that fit into what might be covered on that holistic nurse board exam. Whereas the nurse coach board certification is specifically catered to the single modality, which is a holistic modality, but the single modality of nurse coaching itself. So health and wellness coaching, lifestyle coaching provided as a nurse, that is all what fits under this nurse coaching realm.
Good distinction.
Now, the really cool thing about our course is that you are getting all of the education and all of the practicum, which for the nurse coach board exam is quite a lot. You need quite a lot of hours of practice. You need quite a lot of hours of related education under your belt. So we really focus in this course on helping nurses to achieve all of that so that they have what it takes to meet those more rigorous requirements for the nurse coach board certification. And then as a bonus, because nurse coaching is a holistic modality, you can also take those continuing education hours that you'll earn here and utilize them to sit for the holistic nurse board exam. So you can sit for one, you can sit for the other, you can sit for both of them. It's really up to the individual. Quick side note on that holistic nurse exam, because we're dropping the acronyms and calling it HNBC. Holistic nurse board certification, yes, that is correct. That's like the first level of holistic nurse board certification. What's super unique about those holistic nurse board exams is that they actually have different levels and different acronyms depending on the highest degree that you hold. So again, check out the website on AHNCC and you'll see if you have an associate's or a bachelor's, a master's, higher. There is its own version of the exam with its own associated credentials.
Well done. There's a lot going on there. So Nurse Coach Collective gives everything you need to sit for either or both of those exams. So you can sit for the Nurse Coach Board Certification, the Holistic Nurse Board Certification, or both. And when you obtain both of those board certifications, then you don't have to do anything, but your title automatically transitions into Health and Wellness Nurse Coach Board Certified. That's HWNC-BC.
Got it.
Woo! I did it. Yeah, and so what that's really meant to do is to distinguish, like, okay, like I am a nurse who has obtained additional training and have proven my competency through this exam in nurse coaching, as well as the philosophy and the modalities inherent in holistic nursing.
Exactly. And I think that last piece can kind of trip nurses up when they're first learning about it, because there are like these three separate titles: holistic nurse, nurse coach, and then this health and wellness nurse coach. And so going back to reiterate what you shared there is that there is not a third and separate exam for that HWNC-BC, the Health and Wellness Nurse Coach Board Certification. That is the prize that you get when you take and you pass both of the nurse coach and the holistic board certifications.
The ultimate prize.
The ultimate prize. And you can do them in any order. You can get one and then the other, or vice versa. The CEs and the credit that you get from the Nurse Coach Collective, those are valid for 3 years. And while we do encourage our graduates to sit for one or both board exams as soon as possible, because it's fresh and you're ready and we want you to be confident and empowered to do it as soon as possible, it is nice and reassuring to know that you have 3 years from your graduation date to sit for either or both.
Awesome. So they're valid for 3 years. So what do most graduates of the Transformative Nurse Coach program choose to do when it comes to board certification?
Yeah, good question. Well, again, as I said, it is unique to the individual. We want every nurse who graduates from the program to feel empowered to make the best decision for themselves, whether that's one pathway to board certification, another, doing both, or holding off and doing none at all. It really depends on the individual and their circumstances and where they're going next. Now, that said, most of our graduates do go after that nurse coach board certification, right? You are here to become a nurse coach. You want that professionalism and legitimacy and the letters after your name. So almost all of our graduates choose to go on to become board certified in nurse coaching. Many also choose to become holistic nurses. That one, I would say, is more up to individual preference and how important it is to also be able to represent themselves with that specific language.
So Nurse Coach Collective gives you all the contact hours needed to sit for both of those board certifications if you choose to. There's also additional eligibility requirements that can be found on the AHNCC website. So you'll want to make sure to go ahead and check those out. Again, ahnccc.org. Those are our plugs. So we have kind of covered all of the what of what it is. Nurse Coach Board Certified, Holistic Nurse Board Certified. If you obtain both of those, you become Health and Wellness Nurse Coach Board Certified. So what I would love to do a little bit is here to talk about why board certification matters.
Yeah, and I think that this is the part that we love to talk about most, right? There's a reason why we keep name dropping AHNCC and saying you can go back to that website to find all of the nitty gritty details and everything that you need for the eligibility requirements. And also it's because that stuff may be subject to change, right? So that is always going to be your most
we're not going to lock
up-to-date.
ourselves into something that may be subject to change in the future.
Right. And also the lingo is a bit complex, right? And we do our best, but we don't necessarily always get it exactly right. So that's the place to go for those resources. But where we love to shine is talking about why board certification is so important, why it matters so much, and why it really sets nurses apart from any other coach out there, any other health coach, wellness coach, life coach, why it makes us unique and different and really stand on a totally different playing ground.
And I think there's a number of different reasons as to why it's important. And I think first off is that it brings just an enormous amount of legitimacy to the field.
Yes.
No other profession has done what nursing has done, which is to be the first and only licensed profession to create a board certification within the field of coaching, like in lifestyle coaching and behavioral change. That's awesome. And what that does is it has licensed clinical experienced professionals who have like a code of ethics and a set of core competencies around what it means to practice competently as a coach. And then we've created a board exam around it to prove those competencies. And so what I love about it is that it just brings this enormous amount of legitimacy to the field of health and wellness coaching, and that nurses get to be on the forefront of that, because I believe that nurses are the best at this.
Yes.
I believe we speak the language of medicine and healing. We can take really complex topics and we can connect really deeply with people. Those are like our core functions as healers.
And that's not to say that a layperson cannot make a good coach. I have met a few that are decent at what they do, but on the whole, when we are dealing with people's most important assets, right, like their health, their well-being, their livelihood, we know how complex human beings are, how many comorbidities they have, how many medications people are on. It simply doesn't make sense for that type of coaching and that type of conversation to be done by anyone who is not a licensed professional within the medical realm, who has additional training, who has a certain quantity of practice, enough so that they have some kind of stamp of approval or seal of validation to say, yes, you meet these standards. Okay, now you can go support people with their most valuable assets.
Yeah, it seems actually kind of crazy to me that that's not something that's 100% regulated yet, but I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't 100% regulated yet, but yeah, I really deeply appreciate the legitimacy that it brings to the field of it. And from day one, like when I was getting into the realm of coaching and I discovered nurse coaching, I was like, yes, how awesome is that? It made me feel really good and proud of my profession, because, as our profession evolves and as we notice voids and gaps inside of our professional practice, we create things. And the board certification in nurse coaching and holistic nursing is that thing that was created in order to fill that void in our practice and to give us competencies and guidelines to be able to follow to practice at the highest level inside of those specialties.
Exactly. So I would say numero uno for why the board certification
Legit.
is so important, yes, is that it is legit. It brings that real sense of legitimacy and professionalism to the work that we get to do as nurse coaches. Second thing that comes to my mind is that it is a complete confidence boost for nurse coaches. That moment that they become board certified, we've seen this. It's like a flip switches.
Cross into a barrier. It's like crossing the barrier into confidence. I am fully confident and empowered because I have proved deeply my competencies, and like the amount of work that goes into just preparing for the exam, like obtaining all of the practicum and didactic hours in order to sit and be eligible for the board certification, it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
60 hours of practicum doesn't sound like a lot on paper, but when you go and you put that into action
With client after client, session after session, it's a lot.
It's a lot. So like there's that there in addition to the actual exam itself.
Yeah. And we see this all the time, right? Somebody who we know they've graduated, we know they're an amazing nurse coach, we've seen them in action, we've read the testimonials that they get from their clients, and yet there's often some little barrier that's holding them back. And then when they go out there and they get that board certification, it's like poof, that last gate is lifted and they have that next level of confidence. So I think that's, from an individual perspective, is that it's a great way for the nurse coach to gain that confidence, but it's also an excellent way, and this ties back into that first part of professionalism and legitimacy, for the public to have confidence in you, right? Yes, they see that you are a trained and professional nurse, but now they also see that you've got those extra letters after your name, you've got that board certification, so they are able to feel your confidence and thus have more confidence in you to be able to serve and support them.
Yeah, they're confident in being able to hire somebody or being able to work with a professional who, like, nurses are super trusted. Nurses are super trusted. We have a high degree of clout inside of the community on so many different levels. And so I think that also gives the consumer, the medical consumer, confidence as our patients and as our clients to know what they're getting at a baseline. It's a nurse with boatloads of experience who has that professional license. In addition, they have that additional training, and it creates legitimacy in the field. It gives confidence to the nurse, confidence to the consumer, and it also provides more opportunities for work and for job opportunities, as well as increased pay.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, is that it's not impossible to find a job or to negotiate higher pay, or if you're in private practice to raise rates without the title of board certification, but it sure makes it a whole lot easier when you have that title, because a lot of hospitals, organizations, clinics, they're hiring specifically for a board certified nurse coach. So you fit that bill, you obviously get to step into that role or position. We are seeing now more and more nurses even who are taking nurse coaching back to the bedside, able to negotiate now higher wages or bonuses because they have added that advanced nurse coach board certification to their title. I mean, that I could not have pulled off 7-8 years ago when I was trying to negotiate every pay raise that I could at the bedside. But we're seeing so many more nurse coaches be able to do that now, which is phenomenal.
Because organizations value that stuff. You know, hospitals, organizations, they value that level of professional clout. So it is important, and it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to provide it. And really the final reason why I think the board certifications matter is because it advances the movement of nurse coaching. On all of the final calls, when we're closing out and we're celebrating nurses who have been in our training program for 7 months, we always have this moment of really, really encouraging them to go obtain the board certification. We get like this commitment on their behalf to go and pursue that as quickly as possible, and to not wait to feel like they have everything perfect to sit for the exams, because the exam is really well written.
Yes.
And it's really well-written exam. So if you study the material and you do the work, you are going to pass the exams. Like, I know a lot of us have old traumas from NCLEX and from nursing school. It's not like that, okay?
No.
Like, these are awesome, well-written exams, and you will pass if you study appropriately for them. But what we do is that the more of us that become board certified in this field, the more clout that gives to us inside of here, and the more lobbying power we have at the state and at the national level, the more capacity we have to begin to do research and to get some funding around this, lots of research. And it just creates like a movement. It creates a professional group of individuals working together to create real systemic change.
I know a lot of nurse coaches are very excited about getting insurance coverage and getting those CPT codes on the horizon for our services. And that's all part of, growing the number of board certified nurse coaches so that there can be more oomph, more push behind that to really expand, like you said, the research, the funding, eventually the insurance coverage. It's part of how we are stronger together. And those letters kind of tie us with that board certification and make us more powerful.
Yeah. So we covered a lot of ground.
And we talked really, really fast.
We talked really, really fast. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It must be the yerba mate. I think the yerba mate is kicking in. Yeah, y'all, board certification to us is super important. We love the legitimacy that it brings. Nurse Coach Collective has, supported many nurses to become board certified nurse coaches, to become board certified in holistic nursing. We have a really great working relationship with HNCC. Always, trying to do our best to have as many of our graduates become board certified as possible. Y'all, if you are listening to this and you're a graduate of the Nurse Coach Collective and you have not obtained your board certification and you're eligible for it, go get board certified. Yeah. Go take a quick study, quick test, quick practice exam, and go get that done because it brings so much legitimacy to the field, provides deeper level of confidence for you as a nurse coach, for the consumers, and really helps to advance the entire field of nurse coaching and the movement of it so we can do what we know needs to be done, which is to transform healthcare from the inside out.
That's right. So in the Nurse Coach Collective program, you're getting all of the education that you need, all of the practicum hours, supervised, mentored by a professional nurse coach. We get this question all the time, do I need to go out and find someone else to supervise me? No, you do not. That is all included for you in the course. The only additional thing that you need to do is ensure that you go check out all of the rest of the descriptions, the resources on ahncc.org to make sure that you also meet the other eligibility requirements. There are some certain specific nuances in terms of number of recent practice hours that you need to have. So just be sure to do your due diligence and check those things out as well.
Awesome. That's the importance of board certification. Anything else that we didn't cover?
I think I would like to make it known that yes, we in this program and in this collective, we are ensuring that any nurse coach who wants to become board certified has that really streamlined path. But I also don't want anything that we've covered in this episode to give a misconception that the Transformative Nurse Coaching program is only a board certification prep class.
Yeah.
Because
we love extra letters after the name.
It is not a prep class.
Yeah.
You will be prepped, you will be confident, you will be fully prepared, but the ultimate goal for me is that any nurse coach who wants to can get out there and become board certified, pass the exam of their choosing with flying colors. And then beyond that, the ultimate goal is that you have all of the skills, all of the tools, all of the resources to be an incredibly effective and highly confident nurse coach so that you feel and you are amazing at what you do. Because in my mind, at the end of the day, that is always the most important, that you feel and you are amazing at what you do.
I agree 100%. And that's the core. That's the core of our model, is ensuring that you get to that point where you just feel so confident and you have the hours, the practicum, the mentorship, the education to get to that highest level of performance. And then, you are able to take that board certification. But really, we just hammer in yes, we're going to get you to that point, because that for me is the win.
Yes, exactly right. And if for any reason, you are a nurse who is not eligible for board certification, or you simply choose not to sit for board certification, don't worry. We want you to know that you are absolutely welcome here. Everything that you learn in this course is still going to be incredibly, incredibly valuable for yourself as a nurse, for your future as a nurse, in whatever direction you choose to take nursing and nurse coaching. And also, of course, for your personal life, for whichever avenue and all of the avenues you choose to integrate this into your own wellness and your own journey.
Yes.
So board certification, while it may not be the be all and end all, is pretty freaking awesome. And hopefully we have conveyed a bit more of the logistics side of the information, but also the really grasping the magnitude of why this is so cool and why it's so important.
Yep. I think we did a good job.
I think we did a good job.
Y'all, nurses, nurse coaches, and thanks for hanging out with us here today as we discuss the importance of the board certification in nurse coaching and holistic nursing. Y'all, have an amazing day, and we'll see you in the next episode.